The phone call came at 2 a.m., shattering the silence of my Brooklyn apartment. My brother's voice, usually steady as steel, trembled with a joy I hadn't heard in years. "Elliot, I found her the one," James said, and my heart stopped, caught between disbelief and hope. I'd always known James as the untouchable CEO of Horizon Tech, a man who commanded boardrooms with a glance and buried his heart beneath ambition. At 32, he'd built an empire in Silicon Alley. But love, that was a territory he'd never dared to map. I propped myself up on my elbows, the city's distant hum filtering through my cracked window. "Her?" I asked, voice thick with sleep and suspicion. "You're telling me you, James Carter, are in love?" He laughed, a sound so rare it felt like a gift. "Yeah, Elliot. I'm serious. I want you to meet her." His words carried a weight I couldn't parse, a secret nestled in their cadence. I was 28, a freelance graphic designer scraping by, the opposite of James's polished life. We'd grown up in a small Ohio town, two brothers against the world after our parents died young. He'd been my protector, my anchor, but we drifted in recent years, his skyscraper office and my cluttered studio worlds apart. Yet, his voice now felt like a bridge back to the kid who'd once bandaged my scraped knees. "Meet her," I pressed, rubbing my eyes. "When? Where?" My mind raced. James didn't do impulsive. If he was this certain, she must be extraordinary. But why did his tone feel like a confession? "Next weekend," he said. "My place in Manhattan. Just trust me." "Okay." The line went quiet, and I felt a strange pull, like the universe was about to shift. The following Saturday, I stood outside James's penthouse, a sleek glass tower overlooking Central Park. The doorman waved me up, and the elevator ride felt like an ascent into another life. My worn sneakers squeaked on the marble floor as I stepped into his apartment, all clean lines and minimalist luxury. James greeted me with a grin, his navy suit pristine, his dark hair slightly to slate a rare crack in his CEO armor. "Elliot," he said, pulling me into a hug that lingered a beat too long. His hazel eyes held something unspoken, and my stomach twisted. "Where's the mystery woman?" I teased, scanning the room. No one else was there. The dining table was set for two, a bottle of wine breathing beside crystal glasses. My pulse quickened. "James, what's going on?" He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "Sit down. Elle, we need to talk." His voice was soft, almost fragile, and it scared me. James didn't do fragile. I sank onto the leather couch, my denim jacket feeling out of place against its sleek surface. He paced, then stopped, his eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that made my breath catch. "I've been trying to find the words for this," he started, his hands fidgeting. "I told you I found love, and I meant it. But it's not what you think." He stepped closer, and the air thickened. "Elliot, it's you. I'm in love with you." The world tilted. My heart pounded, a chaotic drumbeat in my chest. "What?" I managed, my voice barely a whisper. This was James and me, brother. My family. Not by blood, I reminded myself. We were adopted, raised together since I was 6 and he was 10. But still, this was impossible. My mind screamed for logic, but my heart, traitor that it was, felt a spark of something I couldn't name. "James, you can't," I started, but he cut me off, his voice raw. "I know it's crazy. I know it's complicated, but I've felt this for years. Elle." I tried to bury it, to focus on work, on anything else. But every time I'm with you, it's like the world makes sense. He knelt in front of me, his hands hovering near mine, not daring to touch. I had to tell you. I couldn't keep pretending. I stared at him, my mind a battlefield of shock, fear, and something deeper, something that terrified me with its familiarity. Hadn't I always felt a pull toward him? A connection beyond brotherhood. I'd chalked it up to gratitude. To family. But now, with his confession hanging between us, I wasn't so sure. The days after James's confession were a blur. I avoided his calls, his texts, retreating to my cramped studio where I could drown in work. But his words haunted me, echoing in every quiet moment. I'm in love with you. How could he say that? How could I feel the stirrings of something reciprocal? Something forbidden? I met my best friend, Mia, at a dive bar in Williamsburg. She was 30, a fiery Latina with a knack for cutting through my chaos. Over cheap beers, I spilled everything, my voice shaking as I recounted James's words. Her dark eyes widened, but she didn't judge. Elliot, she said, leaning forward. This is messy. Yeah, but it's also real. You need to figure out what you feel, not what you think you should feel. Her words stuck with me as I wandered the city, the neon lights of Times Square blurring in my vision. I thought of James, his steady presence, his rare smiles, the way he'd always been my safe harbor. But love, that was a line I'd never considered crossing. Yet, the more I thought about it, the more I saw the signs I'd ignored, the lingering glances, the way his hand brushed mine during late-night talks, the ache I felt when he pulled away. I finally agreed to meet him again, this time at Central Park. It was neutral ground, a place where we could talk without the weight of his penthouse or my cluttered life. We walked along the Bow Bridge, the autumn leaves crunching underfoot. He looked tired, his usual confidence dimmed, but his eyes still held that spark when they met mine. Elliot, I'm sorry if I scared you, he said, stopping by the water's edge. I couldn't keep it inside anymore. But I'll back off if that's what you want. I just need to know where you stand. I swallowed, my throat tight. I don't know. James. It's a lot. You're my brother. Not by blood, but in every way that matters. How do we even navigate this? He nodded, his jaw tight. I know. I've asked myself that 1,000 times. But I also know that what I feel for you, it's not just family. It's more. And I think you feel it too. I wanted to deny it, to run from the truth in his words. But standing there, with the city's heartbeat around us, I couldn't lie. Maybe I do, I admitted, my voice barely audible. But I'm scared. James, what does this mean for us? For everything. He stepped closer, his hand brushing mine. And for the first time, I didn't pull away. It means we figure it out together, he said, if you're willing. The weeks that followed were a tightrope walk. James and I met in secret, stealing moments in quiet corners of the Sitya coffee shop in the village, a late-night diner in Hell's Kitchen. We didn't label what we were doing, didn't dare call it love, but every touch, every shared glance, felt like a step towards something inevitable. Yet, guilt gnawed at me. What would people say? Our friends, our colleagues, the world that had known us as brothers. Mia was my lifeline, her apartment a safe space where I could unravel. You're not hurting anyone, she insisted one night, pouring me wine. You're two consenting adults. Society's rules don't get to dictate your heart. Her words were a balm, but they couldn't erase the fear of judgment, of losing the family we'd built from the ashes of our childhood. James, too, was struggling. One night, at his penthouse, he showed me a letter he'd written but never sent, addressed to our adoptive aunt, the only family we had left. I want to tell her, he said, his voice low, but I'm terrified she'll see us as wrong. I took his hand, my heart aching. We're not wrong, I said, surprising myself with my conviction. We're just us. That night, we crossed a line. A kiss, tentative at first, then desperate, as if we could pour all our fear and hope into it. It was electric, terrifying, and right. But as I lay in his arms, the weight of our secret pressed down harder. This wasn't just about us anymore. It was about the world we'd have to face. The truth came out in the worst way. A tabloid, sniffing around James's high-profile life, caught wind of our unusual closeness. A blurry photo of us in Central Park, hands brushing, hit the internet, and the headline screamed, CEO's scandalous secret, in love with his brother. The world didn't care about the nuances of our adoption, our history. They saw a story, and they ran with it. James's company took a hit, investors pulling back, board members demanding answers. He faced it all with his usual steel. But I saw the cracks late-night calls where his voice broke, emails he didn't send. I, too, felt the weight. My freelance clients dropping me, whispers following me in every coffee shop. But in the chaos, we found strength. We stood together at a press conference, James's hand steady in mine as we faced the cameras. Elliot and I aren't brothers by blood, he said, his voice clear. We're two people who found love in an unexpected place. We won't apologize for that. The backlash was brutal, but so was the support. Letters poured in from others who'd loved in secret, who'd defied norms. Mia organized a fundraiser for LGBTQ+ youth, turning our story into a beacon for others. And in Central Park, on a quiet evening, James and I sat on that same bench from the tabloid photo. He took my hand, his thumb tracing circles on my skin. We made it through, he said, his voice soft but sure. I leaned into him, the city's lights twinkling around us. Yeah, I whispered. And we're just getting started. Our love wasn't a scandal. It was a revolution, one we'd fight for, together, every day.